All right, in this video, I'm ranking the zodiac signs from most loyal to least loyal. Now, I just want to give a little disclaimer. This is all a little bit more for fun and entertainment purposes because one, you can't judge someone just by their sun sign. You have to look at the whole chart. Two, you can all interpret things like loyalty in many different ways. And three, really it comes down to the maturity level of the individual. Just because someone has a certain zodiac sign or they have a lot of a certain zodiac sign in their chart doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna be unfaithful or not loyal. It's really a lot about personal choice, maturity level, and every person has an internal locus of control that, trumps everything. Having said all that, I still think it's super fun to do this because it just is. So let's get into it. Number one most loyal sign. I'm gonna go with Cancer. The reason that Cancers are loyal is because they associate loyalty and commitment and devotion to a partner with a sense of being at home. Cancers approach every situation in life from a place of wanting security, right? And wanting to feel safe. They're always kind of venturing a little bit outside their shell and then coming back and then venturing a little bit further and then coming back. But eventually they just pick up and move their shell or, they create a new shell. So once a Cancer is committed to a partner, assuming they've hit that point, that is like their shell, and they are going to do everything they can to maintain that. They are people that want to work on their relationship, go to therapy, do all the things when things are bad before they would leave or have a wandering eye. That's why they're the most loyal. Small caveat, that loyalty is almost so intense that they do have a hard time burning bridges, right? They think about their old shells. Sometimes they think about their old relationships. Usually it's in a healthy way, right? They have positive memories of a past relationship, but understand there was a reason why it didn't work out. When there is unfaithfulness or a lack of loyalty from a Cancer, it's usually because they are still a little bit too tethered to a past relationship and didn't fully move past it. Number two most loyal sign, we have Scorpio. Now I know a lot of you are probably thinking really, Scorpio? Every Scorpio I've known has been a huge a-hole. First of all, that's not accurate. Second of all, I'm sorry for the Scorpios that you have met. Third, it really depends on the maturity level and whether the Scorpio is evolved or unevolved. Yes, an unevolved Scorpio is going to be neurotic and insecure, and they're gonna be so afraid of getting rejected that sometimes they're too trigger happy and they take off first or they self-sabotage. But by and large, once a mature Scorpio has committed to someone, they literally hang on to that so tight. They're so devoted, and they are literally going to move heaven and literally the depths of hell in order to kind of make it work. They are the ultimate ride or die sign. That's why I'm putting them at number two. Number three, most loyal sign. I'm gonna go with Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign, and what they lack in terms of being somewhat inflexible or resistant to change is also what makes them an incredibly loyal partner. They continue to show up day by day by day by day, right? Once they're committed to something. And just because things get boring or sort of routine doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna bail out. They're very good at just staying in a lane. And so when they have committed to a partner, they are going to continue to stay so long as things are going mostly well. In fact, if anything, it's almost the Achilles heel of a Taurus. Sometimes they actually stay in relationships longer than they should. Bad relationships or relationships that already were kind of falling apart, and they just keep staying in it because they're so resistant to actually going somewhere else or changing. That's why they're number three. Number four, I'm going to go with Virgo. Now, if we say it's unloyal to completely roast your partner and criticize the heck out of them all the time for all the things they're doing wrong, maybe they're not always that loyal. But this earth sign, this incredibly analytical and problem-solving sign, really thinks about relationships as a reflection of their own abilities and talents. They're going to view a failed relationship as a failure on them. And Virgos are perfectionists, right? They hate failure. So they're gonna continue to work at a relationship and continue to problem solve, and they wanna make it work. Sometimes their idea of wanting to make it work means them telling you what you're doing wrong, but by and large, they're pretty reliable, right? They're very picky about selecting a partner. They have such high standards. Once they do though, like I said, they're pretty darn loyal. Number five most loyal sign, I'm going Capricorn. Again, earth signs tend to be pretty good old reliable when it comes to committed partnerships. Sometimes it's not always sexy, sometimes it's not always, wear your heart on your sleeve and just throw caution to the wind, but when they're in a relationship and it's defined, they tend to be steady. Now, the issue with Capricorn and loyalty is not so much having a wandering eye for other people, it's usually sometimes them being so tunnel visioned on a project or their work or their career. And sometimes that can take away from a relationship, right? Because they're very driven, they're very motivated towards what they value, towards the goals that they've set for themselves. If you kind of keep putting yourself in the train tracks of that, like, yes, there's going to be some conflict and they're going to resent that. But by and large, Capricorns are so great at continuing to show up. They are, acts of service, love language people. They can also be quite critical of their partners, but they're generally more loyal than they aren't. Number 7 and number 8, I'm gonna say are a tie. And here we're gonna throw first Leo. Now Leo, you can make an argument that they're one of the more loyal signs, it's fixed fire. They also can be somewhat unloyal. Let me tell you what I'm thinking. Leos are incredibly loyal when the relationship is going the way that they want it to, right? They have intense needs to be given affection, they need to receive a lot of compliments, they need a lot of attention from their partner, they kind of need to feel like they are the king or the queen of the relationship. They kind of feel like they're royalty and they need to have like sort of paparazzi and personal compliment givers kind of recognize that as such. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but like they need that. They have no will to live if they get like rejected or ghosted or ignored. Like it's the worst for a Leo. So long as you're doing what you can to kind of fulfill those intense Leo needs, they're gonna be happy. They are a fixed sign, so it's not like they're urging to like go and mix things up or they're necessarily gonna get bored super easily, but they feel like slighted or over time, if there's any kind of resentment building up because of those issues, like if they feel like they're not being respected enough or if they feel they're being taken for granted, it is so painful to the core for a Leo that it causes them to go and just act out in fiery and kind of spontaneous ways. So maybe they'll do something rash or cause a bad fight or maybe they might go do something to make you jealous and to show you that you need to value them more, something like that. So that's kind of where we're at with Leo. The other one that I'd put right in this place, we'll say this is number 8, is the sign of Libra. Libras get a bad rap, right? Because they are natural compliment givers. They act super charming in almost every kind of social situation. People interpret that excessive affection and charisma almost as flirting. So if the person talking to a Libra is just like normal in a relationship or whatever, it doesn't seem like a romantic context, like that's not really gonna matter. They're just gonna be like, oh, this person's kind of charming. But like if another person gets the idea in their head that that person is like flirting with them, that's a mistake that happens a lot. People think that the Libra is flirting with them when that's really just like how they talk to everyone, even their doctor, which is like kind of weird, but that's how Libras are. And so sometimes they can get tempted or they get wound up into bad situations because they've literally just dumbly and unwittingly been themselves and wanted to be super charming and wanted people to like them. So they're suddenly kind of like in a little thing with another person and they don't even realize that that's a thing. Sometimes they can't even see it. So that's not fair to say that they're like not loyal because of that, right? Because it's sort of subject to interpretation and that's not their intention. On the other hand, Libras can be considered unloyal because sometimes they jump into relationships for the wrong reasons, like namely, they don't want to be alone. They're notorious sort of relationship hoppers that don't spend a lot of time kind of ruminating and reflecting on a breakup before moving on to the next one. So sometimes it means that maybe they're in a relationship with someone they realize like, I don't really like it that much, or they appreciate being in a relationship more with like an okay person until another one comes around simply because it's better than being alone. Also, sometimes Libras get so caught up in like wanting another person to like them and make the other person feeling so good that they kind of forget to step back and think like, wait, do I even like this person? And then of course, Libras always have options. So it's a little bit of a toss up. They're very partnership oriented on the whole though. I would say they're more loyal than not. Number 9, we're going with Aquarius. Now, maybe it's a little bit of a travesty to put Aquarius this low. Maybe they should be higher. Maybe they should even be lower. Here's the thing, is that we need to alter our definition probably of loyalty when we're talking about Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed sign, right? They're fixed air. They're kind of a unique fixed sign, right? They demand a lot of independence. They like to sometimes stay more emotionally detached, even when committed to another person. Or if they are more emotionally involved, it's quicker for them to emotionally detach when they feel like they need to or for whatever reason. And so in the context of how Aquarius wants to approach a relationship, they are extremely loyal. So if you and your Aquarius partner's needs are similar and you have the same respect and need for that freedom, they're probably one of the most loyal signs. Like, they're so reliable, they'll always be there. But if you're someone that really wants a hardcore monogamous, like my whole life revolves around my romantic relationship type situation, like Aquarius is not going to be down with that, right? And they're going to continue to keep pulling back and pull back, and doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna go out and do something to sour the relationship, but it could, right? And if you try to put Aquarius energy in a box and try to control it, it's not going to work. And that's when, you know, it might do something more drastic or something we would consider not loyal. So they're loyal, but just generally a very independent sign. So do with that what you will, I guess. Number 10, we're gonna go with Aries. I actually feel like Aries get a little bit of a bad rap. They're an extremely sensitive sign. They're extremely loving, extremely loyal and devoted to their partners. The thing with Aries is that they're just like children of the Zodiac, right? They get so caught up in things and they tend to be very naturally extroverted. They love making new friends. They are also one of those signs where they love talking to people and other people misinterpret it as like flirting or coming on to them. When it's really just like an Aries having fun and being at play and like wanting to talk to people and like wanting to have a good time. So the reasons Aries might not be loyal is, one, they do need their independent time. Like, they want to be very attached and come back, but they also need time to go off and play and be spontaneous and be themselves. And you can be a part of that. Like, they're not doing anything behind your back, but they need that time and you need to let them have that time. The thing is, because of that, right, if there's any issue in a relationship, like Aries are very impulsive sometimes, right? And because they like are so extroverted and so emotional and so sensitive, sometimes they get put in situations, or they put themselves in situations where they can make mistakes or do stupid things, right? Because they're so childlike, they're so caught up in the moment that they kind of forget everything else that's going on when they're in a very like excitable emotional state. So generally loyal, sometimes they can F up. So I guess that's why they're here. At number 11, we have Sagittarius. Maybe I could have put them somewhere else on this list, but like someone has to be at 11, and it's Sagittarius, and this is why. First of all, Sagittarius can be very loyal. Here's the thing about Sagittarius. They're actually extremely honest and direct and straightforward. So if there is ever a lack of loyalty or infidelity in a relationship, it's usually like not something where they are carrying on this huge secret life that they're lying to you about every day, or if confronted about something, usually they don't lie about it, or at least not for like a really long time. Because Sagittarius, as they always say, they walk their own way until they find someone or something that they don't want to walk around anymore. But even then, they're still gonna like walk their own way. So when you are the person that they're walking towards, there is no more loyal, tunnel vision, focused sign than Sagittarius. When they're on a path and you're on that path and they want to interface and engage and be with you, they are not going to be thinking about anything else. The problem is when they suddenly kind of change their mind, they do a hard pivot and go the other direction. And once they decide to do that, there's really no going back. Like, once their mind is made up, they're not really going to change it. And they're gonna resent you if you try to change it. So the reason I put them at 11, like the second most unloyal sign, is because sometimes they can just do a hard pivot, right? And they're just gonna say directly like, hey, I don't really wanna be with you anymore. Like, I'm done with this. And you're gonna be like, wait, but, and they'll be like, sorry, I'm leaving. And then that's it. That's all there is. They're not gonna lie about it, but, and finally, last but not least, I do love this sign. We have number 12, which is Pisces, AKA the most unloyal sign. Again, don't want to hurt any Pisces out there. This list is mostly for fun and entertainment purposes. But the thing about Pisces is that they are ruled by Neptune. their energy is extremely sensitive and unique and changeable, and their boundaries between themselves and others is very porous, right? And they feel things so intensely. And so they're driven in this world by more like energy and resonances and like their feelings of connection from like moment to moment. It's less about material structures like this is black, this is white, this is my person, this is not my person. They are more alien, right? That Neptune energy is so like higher order. You know, you think about, you know, famous yogis and you think about self-sacrifice, right? Or you think about complete unconditional love for all people and all beings, which on paper is like the highest love there is, right? A Pisces, not saying all Pisces are like that, but that's kind of the nature of the energy where they almost can love every single person and they want to love every single person, right? And almost loving one person at all times or only devoting all their energy to one person at one time means that like they also can't love and see the beauty in like all these other people that they're going to experience. And this doesn't mean that a Pisces is just kind of like falling in love with everyone or they can never be loyal. It just means that like they're motivated a little bit more by that energy. So sometimes like if they get caught up in an emotional connection with someone else, they can really get pulled by it. They kind of lose their sense of boundaries. They're not really good at putting up boundaries with the other person. So if the other person is particularly forward or aggressive, sometimes they can kind of get passively pulled into something, even if they only kind of want to explore it. On the whole though, like I love Pisces. There's no one capable of a more intense, soul bonding, purely loving type of love than a Pisces. It's just like a little bit leaky sometimes, and like they can be a total saint or they can be like a total psychopath. It all really just depends on your perspective and your ability to kind of understand the type of person that they are. So that's why they're there with a huge asterisk. Again, this whole list is with a huge asterisk, but hope you enjoyed it and hope you had fun.